And citizens of the world, and welcome to tonight's live stream. Well, tonight we're going to be talking about 5G again, and of course 5G is a very controversial subject, and I'll tell you why. In the first study of its kind, Swedish researchers found 5G radiation causes typical symptoms indicative of what they're now calling microwave syndrome. You know what happens when you put a cup of cold coffee in the microwave for 30 seconds? That's what they're talking about. The study published in the journal Medisk Access also confirmed that non-ionizing radiation well below levels allowed by authorities can cause health problems. According to the study, a 5G base station installed on the roof of an apartment building caused extremely high levels of non-ionizing radiation in the apartment of the two people living just below the station. Ouch. Okay, without any further ado, let's get on our guest, Mada van Rensburg. Here we go. Lovely to
nice
see
to
you.
see you too.
And it certainly beats a little icon, that's for sure.
That's true. That's true.
Now, Mada, tell me a bit about your background and what drew your interest into 5G in particular.
I have to be honest, I don't have a particular interest in 5G. I have a very strong interest in Bible prophecy. I'm a passionate Bible prophecy researcher. And inevitably that led to what's happening in the world right now. And the deeper you dig into the plans of the New World Order, it all comes down to step number one, step number two. And eventually I found out about 5G and the next generation 6G. And that opened a whole can of worms.
Yeah, a lot of people aren't aware that they're talking about 6G coming out in 2025 or somewhere around there.
Oh, it's very close. It's very close.
And 6G would be about 100 times or 1,000 times worse than 5G, wouldn't it?
Well, at the end of the day, if you look at what 2G could do and 3G and 4G, and now we know 5G can do so much more. But that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is the total integration of biology with artificial intelligence.
Yeah, transhumanism.
And that 5G is only opening the spectrum for that. 6G is where we're going to.
Absolutely. Well, let's go right to the very beginning. 5G, is it beneficial or detrimental to humanity?
It's absolutely detrimental to humanity, despite all the benefits that there is, like our conversation tonight.
But we can have a conversation like this without 5G. We could have done this on 4G, couldn't we?
Yeah, it would have been a bit slower, but it would have been the nicest to actually sit around a cup of coffee and have an actual human conversation. You know, like we used to do in the old days.
Yeah, well, it's crazy when you go to a coffee shop now and they're teenagers or young adults sitting around having a coffee together. They're both on their mobile phones. They're not even talking to each other.
Exactly.
They're sending text messages.
We're going to discuss that. That's one of the reasons why 5G will be so acceptable and why it is so acceptable and why nobody wants to talk about the risks because they enjoy the benefits too much.
Right. Okay, well, let's move on. Why are you so against 5G? Tell us why 5G is such an issue for you.
I would like to share a bit of a video with you while I'm, where's my video now? Personally know about so many people. And just last week, one of my colleagues that I work with told me about his mother that died 2 years ago. And of course, I asked him, was she vaccinated? And he said, no, she wasn't. And then he continued to tell me that she went to hospital for some unrelated illness. And 3 days later, they phoned him to say that she died. And my first question is, did they put her on a ventilator? because people go to hospital all over the world with not with lung-related problems. And the moment they're put on ventilators, they actually die within 3 days. And that's exactly what happened to people that I personally know.
Right.
And the reason that the hospitals give them is they say, well, they died because of COVID. And I asked him, and this is what I ask all the people that tell me about their family members that died, what does the coroner's report say? Do you know what the coroner's report say?
No.
Nothing, because there is no coroner's report. The moment people die of COVID, there's no coroner's report needed. So there's no way to establish the real reason why these people died. And when I went through this whole conversation with my friend, he started crying.
Yeah.
Not because he was sad, but because he was angry. Because he then realized what happened to his mother. But anyway, COVID doesn't need a coroner's report. And the conspiracy started rolling around that time period when so many people died that went to hospital, that went onto ventilators, because there was no other reason given than just purely COVID. The conspiracies became viral, and the rest of the world, like in South Africa, the hospitals actually got compensation for every COVID reported death, especially if the person went onto a ventilator. There was a financial benefit to the institution. So the more deaths that can be blamed on COVID, the more money for the institution, and the higher the numbers for the reports on mass media. So it was a win-win situation if you want to start a global takeover. The COVID deaths gives the media the statistics they need it. And the reason is why. Why did they want to embellish the statistics of COVID deaths?
Yeah.
Your audience probably know. Fear.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
the way in which they created fear.
Yeah.
Why did they use so many deaths that was unrelated to COVID? Why did they want to artificially spike the numbers? Why did they want to create fear of COVID? And the reason is the shot. They want people to take the shot. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the church choir, but it's an untested, magically manufactured within 3 months. It's a genetic experiment, and it's tampering with our...
Mother? I don't agree with you that it was actually developed over 3 months. I believe that they have been developing that vaccine with all the shit that's in it for years.
Absolutely.
And with maximum damage hidden behind
But
a
in
vaccine.
the mass media, they say 3 months.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the mass media, they said magically it happened in 3 months. But yes, you and I, with all our research, we know that they've been planning this, and they've been working on this mRNA, messenger RNA, genetic shot for years.
Yeah, well, look, we call it the fake mainstream media, because that's what it is.
Yeah.
Now, Johan Kutzer has put a comment in the side chat, and I want to run this past you, because he says, this is what he says, I think this is bullshit. I've been working on these towers for many years and am perfectly healthy. Now, Johan, working on the towers, and actually when the towers are actually working, so working on them and putting the gear up while it's still sort of not working, I don't think could be terribly dangerous. But once you've got your apartment directly below one of these towers, for example, and you've got the radiation continually pouring out, I don't see how that can be healthy. What are your responses to what Johan said, Mara?
Well, the thing is, 5G is going to be implemented between now I must remember, up to 300 gigahertz. Currently, they've only licensed it up to about 60 gigahertz, which is already much more than 4G was.
Right.
But once the whole 5G rollout is complete, the world will be drowned in up to 300 gigahertz radio waves. It's not up yet. Everything is not integrated yet. All your phones, my phone still says 4G. But what happens the moment when everything transfers from 4G to 5G? When all the towers are up. Remember, 5G is shortwave.
Yeah.
The towers have to be very close to one another to really get the benefit of that shortwave electromagnetic field. It's not up yet. You don't see 5G towers on every lamppost yet, like in some European countries, like in China.
China's just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, they wanted to boost their numbers and they wanted to install fear in the world so all the world can get vaccinated. 5G is just the highway to the next step. Yeah. And we have to continue asking ourselves why, and then we continue searching. Why do they want every human being genetically vaccinated? Because this is a genetic shot. It's not a vaccination. We all know the difference between a vaccine and an mRNA medical experiment. The reason they want the whole world vaccinated, the reason they started this whole process is for the fourth industrial revolution. And I saw in some of your comments, your people know about Klaus Schwab. So I would love for this information to reach more than the people that know about the fourth industrial revolution and the Great Reset. But the New World Order want to implement the biometric implanted radio frequency microchip surveillance. And for that, they're going to need 5G.
Yeah.
And for that, they're going to need the genetic shot. And we have to all get plugged into the smart grid system. You all know about the South African smart city deployment plans they have for Krugersdorp is one of the towns. In KwaZulu-Natal, there's a couple of towns. Smart cities is the future.
Well, look, I just want to tell everybody listening that in the news last night, this is just coincidentally in the news last night here in Queensland, Australia, it was revealed that several very big shopping businesses like Macro, which is basically the one that does all the hardware in Australia. There's another one called The Good Guys, which does all the sort of the washing machines and stuff like that. And it was revealed last night on the news that they are now using face recognition in their stores. And no one was told about this. So when you go into one of these stores now, they know who you are and they know what you're doing. And in fact, in America now, there are Amazon stores where you have a special app that you go through going into the store. Without that app, it won't let you in. But once you're in, you literally take stuff off the shelves. It's just like a Pick and Pay or a Checkers. You just take stuff off. You can put in your pockets. You can do whatever you like. There's no staff in there. There's no one human being in there. And you just walk out. There's no checkout, but it automatically picks up.
And that's amazing.
Yeah, and it picks up.
Yeah.
From the cameras, it picks up what you've taken, and it correctly then bills you as you go through. This is how smart the surveillance is becoming. It's quite extraordinary.
Listen, our smartphones, the smart TV, your smart fridge, eventually 6G especially is going to, and 5G is opening the gateway for this, for all these smart devices to be able to communicate with each other. And you can imagine the amount of bandwidth you need to store how many are we, 8 billion people across the world, to store all that information, your facial recognition. The artificial intelligence will recognize your face. They'll know where you live, where you are, what your ID is, how much money is in your bank. They will deduct you the amount of stuff you just walked with out of the store. They'll know your vaccination status. They'll know everything. And the facial recognition sounds like heaven on earth. I mean, walk into a store, take what you want and leave. But if you look at facial recognition in China, this has been happening for the last 4 to 5 years. It's been expertly done. If you want to board a train and your credit score is low, then the facial recognition camera will put a red flag on you and you will not be allowed to get onto a public transport system because your credit score is low.
Well,
because maybe you made a comment.
Anna, what we're talking about there is a social credit score system. It's it's basically a strategy whereby you start off with, let's say, 1,000 points, and if you get caught jaywalking, for example, you get fined, and they take 5 points off your 1,000 points. If you've got a Facebook page and you say something nasty against the government, they take off 20 points, for example. Now, if you come down to, let's say, 500 points, then you're restricted from doing certain things like using public transport.
Yeah.
If you go lower, they might actually turn off your ability to use digital cash, because that's what they use now in China. They basically just use their mobile phones to go and buy stuff. But with a social credit system, they can literally shut down your bank account if you go down below a certain level. And the whole social credit system is based around compliance with the Chinese government. Now that's Big Brother.
That word compliance.
Yeah. And of
that
course,
is a nice word, slavery.
And all this is happening because you've got this advanced 5G technology, which is the vehicle that is used to actually use things like artificial intelligence to basically harness the lives of people under the social credit system. And there's a great conspiracy in the free world that the reason why they want the vaccine passport is because that's the entry level for a social credit system here in the free world. Yeah.
No, listen, COVID is not at all what they made it out to be. It's only the excuse they have to vaccinate the whole world. And the vaccination is not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is a few kings to rule the many. And how they're going to get this right without, first of all, getting every human being to comply, to just fall down and say, yes, whatever the risks are, I'm not even going to worry about the risks of either the vaccine or 5G. I just need to comply because I need to have my bank account opened. I need to be able to shop. I want to continue watching Netflix. Give me 5G. I don't care what the reason or the agenda behind it is.
Yeah.
But this is exactly the agenda behind it. It's the elite that want to control the many. But, will humanity allow a few, they call them the 20 top guys of the top 1% of the world, will humanity allow them to rule us?
Well, that's what the one world government's all about. And you can see people lobbying for positions like Bill Gates, who wants to obviously be in charge of global health and obviously food.
Yeah. But my question is about humanity. Yeah. Will you and I, not you and me, because, we're not going to allow it, but the biggest part of humanity, will they allow it?
Well, that's a problem. There was a very interesting study done, and I've done a video on this a couple of weeks ago now, where they actually analyzed, let's say you've got 100 people in a room and something really terrible happens and, people's lives are under threat. What they found, and this is typical around the world, what they found is that 15% or 15 people totally freaked out and they started trying to climb through windows and whatever. Another 15%, that's you and I now, we're talking about the second 15%. They basically had already prepared and they were just sort of calm and they were doing the right thing. The 70%, the greater percentage of the 100 people in the room just sat there on their seats as if nothing was happening. They were just completely, it's like Stockholm syndrome. They're completely just lost to the reality of the dangers facing them. And that's a great problem, is that 70% of people just don't realize. And the other 15% who freaked out were part of the 70% before they freaked out. So there's only this very small number, the 15%, who really have gone and done their own due diligence and are aware of what's happening. That's the problem. Now, let's move on. Aren't we using 5G tonight to stream this program? Isn't that a problem?
It is. I actually have a couple of other things I quickly want to just come back to, but we have to use 5G because we don't want to struggle to talk to each other. We don't want to struggle to stream to the audience. So we don't want to struggle to download. We are addicted to we as a world, not you and me, we're addicted as humanity to instant pleasure and satisfaction, and we want immediate results. So 5G is it's beneficial when you want that instant result. There's prospects of downloading speeds, because remember, 5G is much, much faster than 4G ever was. And we're looking at 20 gigabytes per second of download speeds and upload speeds of only 1 millisecond. And now I can't share my little screen with you, but compare that to 4G. It is a massive difference. With 4G, you had a much longer delay in your upload. But with 5G, you've got 1 millisecond of upload speed. And this new network will be able to cope with the number of internet-connected wireless devices in every single home on Earth. Yes, we're using 5G tonight, but without 5G, there will be no communication. And without the vaccine and without the digital passport, there will soon be no more buying and selling. And this is very much what the book of Revelation talks about.
Right.
If we're not plugged into the 5th generation smart grid system, we'll have no phones, no computers, no internet, no smart devices talking to each other, no working from home, no people attending classes over the computer, no conversations like this, no moving, watching movies, no Skyping, no Facebook, no nothing. And all these things we're talking about is eating up our data. But besides that, it's also eating up our time. But the world is hooked on this. The world is ready for 5G. And there's no alternative. There's no other way to continue with this kind of lifestyle. Or is it? Is there another way? We'll talk about that later on.
Yeah.
We've been looking forward to the rollout of 5G for years, and finally they rolled it out. And I'm sure you and your audience know exactly when 5G was rolled out.
Well, it's rolled out during the COVID.
It was rolled out in March 2020.
Yeah, isn't that interesting?
It was established, and very interesting. Because while you might be thinking that 5G is just 4G on steroids, it's faster, it's more reliable. But actually 5G is the wolf in sheep's clothing. Well, it comes with big promises.
Yeah, I just want to interrupt you for a second, because what people don't realize, now I'm addressing this to Johan, just so he can go and check this out for himself, is that a large percentage of people, and I think it's about between 5 and 10% of people, suffer as a result of 5G in particular from an ailment where they are basically bombarded by the radiation, and their body kind of turns off. And it's got a special term. It's nervous something syndrome. I've forgotten what the middle. Yeah, and it's directly related to the 5G and even the 4G radiation, and it is so devastating for some of these people that they can't operate. They literally sit there and they are like just they can't, and that is a direct result of 5G radio waves or electronic waves or whatever they are. That is what's causing this, and it's a large percentage of the population that this is happening to. And I had a lady on a live stream about 2 or 3 months ago who's one of the sufferers, and she was explaining how debilitating it is for her to live in a world where there are these 5G towers, and she's pretty well like she can't do anything. She's just absolutely she's completely compromised by the 5G. Now, Michael Lawson.
Yeah, not everybody's the same.
Yeah, Michael Lawson has said there will be 6G by 2030, and they will do away with all phones, and you will have it in your hand.
Exactly. That's exactly where, like I said before, this is a 12-step process. We are now only at step number 4.
Wow.
There's a lot more steps coming. Listen, the advances in technology is astronomical. You think 5G is something that has just been launched, and we are now only becoming aware of all the technologically advances there are. But this technology, the people we call the theys of the world, the rulers of the world that's behind the closed doors, they are already in their private laboratories and stuff. They are past 6G and 7G. They're already discussing and researching the 8th and the 9th generation. Where this is all going to end by Agenda 2030 we think we are being told about the newest technology there is. 5G, they are already using the 6G in their devices and stuff.
Yeah.
We don't even know what's lying ahead. But the problem is,
can I just pick up on that point you made, Marta? Because I want people who are listening to understand what you're saying there, because it's so important. And that is that the technologies that have already been developed are way beyond the technologies that they're sharing with us. And I always give the example. Yeah, I always give the example of the stealth fighter, which was developed by the U.S. Army or the Air Force in the 1950s. They had the stealth bomber, which avoided radar. It was working in the 1950s, but they only told the world about it in the 1980s. That's a 30-year gap. So you think, when we talk about things like messenger RNA, we talk about things like 5G, we talk about things like robots that now walk around and talk to people, artificial intelligence. What we're seeing is probably what was developed around 2000. They are that far ahead of what they're showing us that they're going to roll out in the future. And this is why they are so certain about what they're going to do, because they've already developed the technologies. It's already working. We just haven't been told about it. And when you consider how that can compromise us in the future, our lifestyle, what we do, where we go, our social credit systems, vaccine passports, this whole thing is planned. It's not something that's just accidentally rolling out, is what I'm saying. Sorry, back to you.
No, for sure, but and that's why, what was that thing that Bill Gates and all those guys had? Ah, damn it, now I can't remember the name. But that's why we think that these guys has a crystal ball or something. They talk about, if there's ever a pandemic, then this is the way that we will handle it, blah, blah, blah. They have these conferences a couple of months before the actual pandemic comes out. Yeah. But it's because they know so far before us what's going to happen, not because they're so clever, but because they plan it.
Yeah.
But our problem as humanity is that we allow this. We have submitted to this. We have allowed them to rule over us like this because we're not happy with slow connections. We're frustrated with download times. We want faster connections. We want fast food. We want fast download of Netflix. We don't ask questions about technology. We don't do research. We don't care a dime about the risks as long as we can have what we want.
Yeah.
And we don't realize that the world is going to soon be drowning in microwaves.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, okay.
And fast, driven by artificial intelligence. You're not even going to be driving your own car soon.
Yeah. Now, Fiona Timms has said, Johan Coetzee actually works on these towers, so perhaps we should have him on a live stream so that he can explain whether we need to be afraid. Well, I'm going to just put that in the back of my brain, because we might get, if Johan Coetzee has got Skype, we might get him to come and join us a little bit later. But okay, now what really prompted your interest in 5G, Marta, was biblical prophecy. Do you want to explain to us how 5G kind of just fits into what biblical prophecy talks about?
5G is changing the way that devices connect to the internet, but 5G goes towards the next step, how smart devices connect to each other. And eventually our 5G and 6G and the next generations will help with the integration of connection between the technology inside our bodies with, you know, you've all seen Elon Musk's videos. You all know about Neuralink.
Yeah.
You know, so eventually all this data streams are going to allow for the devices and the human side to connect to each other. 5G is changing the world. If you just look around your own house, if you just look around schools and universities, your place of work, everything is going wireless. And the problem is our generations are addicted to technology, and they will actually give their souls. They'll give their souls away. And that's where the problem lies, because behind all these lies that we are being told, there's an age-old, ancient, demonic ambition of the serpent in the tree of knowledge of good and evil that goes as far back as the beginning of the Bible. Genesis, the book of Genesis, tells you about the ambition that the serpent has to rule humanity. And if people cannot see the connection between what we just call 5G today and that dream of the serpent, then I don't know.
Well, surveillance, absolutely.
I will have to... Surveillance is just... Surveillance, like the facial recognition, is just scratching the surface. If you listen to Mr. Harari, don't know if you all know the Jewish guy Harari.
That's Klaus Schwab's advisor.
His little PA.
Yeah.
If you listen to what he says on how they want to do their surveillance, in which he can actually dictate to humanity what to buy, and what to think, and how to feel, and even to accept when your device will tell you that you are getting sick. People say that's not possible. If you look at the marketing, the massive amount of money companies are spending on marketing, on how to market their products, and how people's buying habits have been molded by the technology and the marketing strategies. Don't tell me that you think it's not, that somebody like yourself or a normal human being out there cannot be dictated to what to buy and what to choose. They have already perfected that science. I have to start at the beginning, and we'll get to the biblical prophecy as we go through the rest of our discussions.
Right.
But to understand the war between the kingdom of God and the kingdom of darkness, once we understand where 5G is taking us, it will become clear. And I want to talk about the alternative of 5G. The only alternative we really have is to go off the grid. Meaning to take ourselves off the grid. And this is, nobody wants to talk about this. Nobody wants to go off the grid. Nobody is interested in moving outside of the smart cities back to the, to the farming community. But going off the grid, you can do that by going off the electrical grid, the solar. You go off your municipal water grid with boreholes. You go off the buying and selling grid with planting your own food and having livestock. But our biggest problem will be to go off the communications grid, where you have no more cell phones and no more computers. Once the whole world is vaccinated and the new global digital economy is instituted, and without your green passport and then your implanted microchip that gives you access to the economy, we'll have no choice but to go off the communication grid if we want to keep our souls intact and not have the genetic manipulation. Imagine sitting around a table at night with maybe a candle and having an actual conversation with your family instead of everybody, sitting on their phones around the dinner table. That is my alternative to 5G. And I mean, I'm going to struggle. We have a business. I've got young children. Well, not so young anymore. They're 16 and 20. But I mean, young people today need their phones. They need their social media. They love it.
Well, look, I just want to just repeat what someone said to me on a live stream about 2 weeks ago, I guess it was now. And this lady deals with the dangers of the internet. She's actually a forensic person who goes right into the dark web and stuff like that. And she made a very, very important observation that any parent or grandparent should share with their children if they've got young children. And the thing that she said was that if you look at how these professional pedophiles groom children through their mobile phones, it's quite extraordinary. And her advice was that if you've got children under the age of 16 years old and they've got a mobile phone that can go on the internet and they can do stuff, you need to actually take those mobile phones off them before they go to bed and give them back to them at breakfast time. Because the sort of stuff that they might be getting involved in while you think they're asleep, while they're on their mobile phones, could shock you, because they might be being deceived by pedophiles and be drawn into grooming and all sorts of things. So the advice was for children under 16, they should never be allowed to have that mobile phone in a situation where they are in a safe, secure place where they know they won't be interrupted, because that's like going to bed and having the phone with them, because that's when they are most at risk. So that's just a really...
I don't even want to give you names, but if I can start giving you names of big celebrities and big world leaders that didn't allow their children to watch TV until they were like 13.
Yeah.
They didn't give them private cell phones until they were like 16. And these are the guys that is selling the stuff to us.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
some of these are pop stars selling their pop music, you know, and all the children are watching them on their cell phones, but they don't allow their own children to have these devices. Very interesting.
Now just getting back to biblical prophecy, is there something else you'd like to add there regarding biblical prophecy?
No, I want to go through the risk to our natural immunity, and as we build up, it will be easier for me to build up to the point, because talking about the risk to our natural immunity and then the rest of the stuff that's lying ahead, it will open the way for me to explain easily to you when we come closer to the end of our conversation. Biblical prophecy is extremely important. And even if we take away, you know, why are these elites, why do they really want to do all of this? And people will say, well, it's because of money. I say, no, they already have so much freaking money. They can roll it. Then people say it's because of power. I don't agree. They already have all the power. You have to dig into the biblical prophecy to understand the real agenda.
It's satanic.
The real agenda. Yeah. But we'll get to that. Let's talk about the risk to natural immunity.
When we talk about satanic and we talk about the fake mainstream media, I'd just like to make an observation that people like Bill Gates and George Soros and these really evil people are portrayed by the fake mainstream media as philanthropists. You know, look at this. He gave $1 billion to help produce this particular vaccine or whatever it might be. Now, you know, if they were philanthropists, if they are philanthropists, why aren't they throwing billions of dollars that they've got into helping starving people in Sri Lanka, right throughout Asia, right throughout Africa? There are people dying of starvation right now. And what are these so-called philanthropists doing about it? Nothing. You know, that's
let's not even talk about you mentioned Mr. Soros. If you start digging into
he's a nasty bit of rock.
How long has he been involved with some of our South African and African leaders?
Well,
who paid
on
for their university studies?
Yeah, but on that point, Mada, the people who actually write policy or the bills for the government are people who are senior staff of the Open Society Foundation. That's who the advisors are for government. So your policy in South Africa is actually being written by the Open Society Foundation, which is George Soros, and all that the parliamentarians, the ANC, are doing is rubber stamp you. That's all they're doing. So it's not a democracy. What you've actually got is an Open Society Foundation state. I mean, they're basically running South Africa. And that's why some of the weird policies come out. Yeah.
This country is an enterprise. Every country is an enterprise. It's not a continent. It's not a democracy.
Yeah.
If I was an 18-year-old activist and I get a philanthropist that pays everything and sends me to Oxford University and eventually I become the president of a country, there's nothing I wouldn't do for him. He's going to be my controller.
Young global leaders.
To him.
You've heard of the World Economic Forum and the Young Global Leaders? Just about every free world prime minister or president is a young global leader.
He's a young global leader.
How the hell did they get to that position? It's because of the influence of the World Economic Forum.
This is not a short-term plan. This is a long-term plan.
Yeah,
they've been busy with this for a very long time.
Yeah.
Very long time.
And you look at Justin Trudeau. Sorry, you look at Justin Trudeau. His entire cabinet is compromised. Most of them are owned by the young global leader movement. And that's why Canada is in such a mess. Okay, now let's move on.
I've got a stunning video of Klaus Schwab where he explains that almost 70% of all cabinets are young global leaders.
Yeah, well, the point is, how did they get to those senior positions? It wasn't by chance.
You are
it
groomed.
was because of...
You are groomed.
Yeah, well, anyway. Okay, so let's move on with 5G.
That's
a story for another day, yeah. Do you really think 5G is a risk to our natural immunity?
Yeah, yes. I quickly want to, maybe let's touch on that. We all know that COVID started in Wuhan. We also know that the 5G rollout started in Wuhan at the same time. And here it's not conspiracy. People can go to www.roadtraffic-technology.com/China. And this was in February 2019. So China telecommunication company, China Mobile, has announced that they are building a 5G smart highway in Wuhan. Once it's completed, the telecommunications company plans to introduce 5G services on the highway, starting with smart toll stations that would replace all equipment and all humans. I can't pronounce. Xinhua News reported on October 31st of 2019 that Central China Province, Hubei, would launch commercial 5G applications in Wuhan towards the end of 2019. All right. Wuhan then took the lead in conducting mass trials on 5G technology. And Wuhan City is expected to have 10,000 5G base stations by the end of 2019. This was all in the news article that I stated. The head of Hubei Provincial Communication Administration confirmed this in the newspaper article. In the weeks following the rollout, people in Wuhan began getting sick. And at the moment, with 10,000 recently installed 5G antenna all over Wuhan City, Wuhan became one of the cities that has the most 5G electro-polluted cities on the planet. And that's a coincidence, right? Because as you know, the same time COVID broke out as when this 5G was rolled out. And people accused us of saying it's just a conspiracy. So we are not repeating YouTube videos we saw. You can actually go onto any of these official websites of these telecommunication companies and you can trace the dates. Coronavirus began trickling in November and December of 2019, right? Meanwhile, in the following months, more users began using 5G technology with increased radiation exposure. And we are told that China officially launched 5G networks in November 2019. Italy followed, Spain followed, France and Germany. All the leading countries in Europe had the 5G rollouts after China. And you can also see the spike in the COVID cases correlating at the same time periods.
Right.
And that is undeniable. It's an outbreak. Japan experienced the greatest pandemic outbreak in the country after testing the world's first 5G car connection test. Japan is really big in the self-driving 5G cars, while deploying 5G in roadway tunnels. And then the outbreak of COVID started with them as well. But Event 201 happened in a couple of months before all of this. And luckily our world leaders were ready, right? They had a crystal ball. They knew it was coming.
Mm.
But let's not forget about the Diamond Princess cruise ship. You must have heard about the cruise ship.
Oh, yeah, the one
it
in
was
Melbourne.
The first cruise ship. The Diamond Princess.
Yeah, it came
it
into
actually
the
had
port of Melbourne early on in the piece. And the people died and a whole lot of people had COVID on it, yeah.
Well, the 634 people that actually got COVID in a couple of days on this first cruise ship was in the area of Wuhan. I actually tracked them on the official website of the National Center of Biotechnology. And I'll give the website, www.ncbi.nlm.nih.gov. Okay. The cruise ship had a 16-day voyage from Yokohama Port in Japan on January 2020. They went to Hong Kong, Vietnam, Taiwan, and back to Yokohama, all around the Wuhan vicinity in a matter of days. Infection increased from one elderly gentleman that was sick. The infection increased to 634 infections.
Wow.
Well, people say that's because they didn't maintain social distance. But the problem is, if you compare the increase in infections in that 16-day voyage on this cruise ship to other cruise ships that didn't have a 5G Wi-Fi network installed, where there also wasn't social distance, there wasn't nearly as much infections on the other cruise ships than on the cruise on this Princess. And the Princess was the first cruise ship that was rolled out with full 5G Wi-Fi capacity.
Now,
this is not coincidence.
Did that cruise finish in Australia? Because I'm pretty sure that's the one that.
Probably. I just looked at the 16-day voyage in the Wuhan area.
Yeah, because there was a cruise ship that came into Melbourne, and they let everybody off with
the same
COVID
problem.
But that was back.
And did that cruise ship also have the 5G?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah. All these cruise ships that was elevated to a smart cruise ship had the biggest COVID infections.
Right. Now,
if you compare the...
Please go ahead. Yeah, carry on.
If you compare the number of COVID cases in countries where 5G was rolled out to cases in countries that had a lower 5G rollout, you will find out that it's amazing that the 5G rollout delay in certain countries. Also, when you look at their COVID cases, it was also low COVID cases. And again, I've got a video that actually shows you on a map, overlapping a global map on the 5G rollout, overlapping it with a global map on the COVID cases. And you put them together and you can see exactly where 5G rolls out, your COVID cases correlates.
Can you just try and share that? Just try and share that see if it works.
Let me see if I can.
While you're doing that, I'll just tell you what MHD says. He says, I heard from another source that Rupert, this is Johan Rupert, is planning to set up, it looks like it's going to work, is planning to set up VUMA poles that pertain to 5G Wi-Fi connectivity. Okay.
Yeah, and that name that you just mentioned, where did all the money come from?
Yeah.
For small businesses during the... hey?
Oh, absolutely.
Mr. Yeah, so interesting how all these...
all roads lead to Rome.
I don't know how much trouble I'll be in. And again, you will have to join my Bible studies to understand more of this. But the Bible talks about Jews that call themselves Jews, but they're not. They're from the synagogue of Satan.
Right.
If you still don't believe in the 5G conspiracy, please watch this. Speedtest.net. Many of you know this website. I literally just went to look at the speed of my internet and I stumbled across this by accident. Discover your nearest 5G deployment. It's a map of the entire world and all the 5G networks. Now watch. Here's a quick COVID update. USA has now more than doubled second place. If you take a look at the heat map for USA, you'll notice everything is happening on the east side of things, mainly New York City. Other than that, second place is California. This is a world map of all the 5Gs that have been deployed all over the world. USA has 5,500 while the rest of the world don't even equal 3,000. New York alone has a radius of about 1,500 deployed 5Gs. And California is second with almost 350. Follow and share this as I do the exact same thing and break down each country. 5G is what's killing us. Part 2. Mexico and South America. Mexico has a population of over 130 million people. This is a COVID heat map of Mexico. Nothing is going on. Out of 130 million people, they only have 1,500 cases. Well, why? Could it be because they don't have any of the 5G networks that have been deployed all over the world? Zero. Brazil, more than 210 million people. Brazil is leading South America in most cases, but they only have 8,000. To put that into perspective, Canada has more cases than Brazil and Mexico combined. Brazil has 5 deployed 5G networks. The rest of South America doesn't even equal 10. Pretty self-explanatory. 188 5G deployed networks in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic combined. Does that make any sense? Europe. In the top 13 countries with the virus, 10 of them are European. Why? Well, second to America, the small
but you can
little
see in
pocket of
certain
Europe
areas
has
where
over
5G hasn't been rolled out compared to the COVID cases in that area, it is also very low.
Well, look at Africa. I mean, look at North and South
Don't
Africa.
even talk about it.
COVID is pretty well unheard of.
People don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So
sorry, let me quickly finish on the natural immunity.
yeah,
There's an interesting review in a book by Dr. Arthur Firstenberg, The Invisible Rainbow. If people want to get something to read instead of spending their time on social media, The Invisible Rainbow. He studied the outbreak of the Spanish flu, as well as many other flu epidemics in correlation with exposure to radiation. So remember, the Spanish flu is years ago, but radiation has also started many years ago. And he says in his book, I'm noting that the Spanish flu first appeared at the Naval Radio School in Cambridge, Massachusetts. It had 400 initial cases, along with mass vaccination of all the naval soldiers and the sailors. This episode was the first time that people were also exposed in mass to powerful radio waves at close quarters. The Naval Radio School was one of the first to introduce these radiation frequencies in their, all the equipment and stuff. And this is where Spanish flu was also first detected. I'm not saying this. It's Dr., not a conspiracy theorist, Dr. Firstenberg. Firstenberg also tracks many other cases of flu epidemics that coincided, sorry, ek eintlik Afrikaans, that coincided with wireless rollouts. Then I've got a comment of Rudolf Steiner on the 1918 Spanish flu, saying that viruses are not the cause. Virus is a product of the cell detoxifying itself. Now, I didn't understand that. So he says that virus doesn't make you sick. A virus is when a cell detoxifies itself. So I got this book. It's called The Contagion Myth. Excellent, excellent book. It's by Dr. Thomas Cowan, MD. Excellent book. So I'm not a medical expert, so I'm not going to try to explain all of this. I would really suggest that somebody that's interested in finding out more can buy the book and read about this. But all these experts and these doctors and these professors are talking about the radiation that has a problem and causes a problem in our natural immunity. And that you cannot necessarily point the finger to a virus. When you really go into the epidemiology of viruses, it's not at all what we are being told on mass media.
Well, actually, it's interesting you say that, because one of our guests on Loving Life in the past has been Ricardo Marmon, who has this slogan, "Show us the virus." Because
Show us the virus.
Yeah, no one has been able to isolate it,
Nobody can show us the virus.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
They can show us computer-generated images. So when you want to look at the virus, you can see computer-generated images all the time. But please show me an actual virus. Show me what I'm being vaccinated against.
You know,
why can't I show it?
There's a really important point here, because with the electron microscopes, they can actually go down and identify single atoms. They can actually, they can see single atoms. Now, with that sort of equipment, why can't they find the actual virus? Why can't they isolate and show us an image of this virus? Because that virus is going to be bigger than a single atom, which is crazy.
Of course. Exactly, and even if it's as small as an atom, they have more than enough powerful equipment to still see that. Why can we see single cell organisms, and we can even see their mitochondria inside their cells under these microscopes? No, listen. If there was a virus, surely somebody must have shown it to us by now. It's 2 years. It's almost 2.5 years.
Yeah. Well, I just want to. Just pick up on something that I was just thinking about as we were talking, and that is that humanity should be very, very concerned when you consider the actual nature of the people who are rolling out, one, the experimental drug called a safe vaccine by the fake mainstream media, and two, the rollout of 5G using radiation or radio waves or whatever it is, which are incredibly powerful, without actually having done proper long-term experiments to see how this impacts people. You know, it's just been rolled out without any due diligence on the impacts it might have on people.
Well, let me tell you, there's a lot of experts and doctors and scientists that actually has done their due diligence, but of course they are banned, they are shadow banned, they are excommunicated, they lose their jobs, you know. So there's a lot of them that has been warning about this for many years.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, they are not being heard or allowed to speak at all. So it's not like everybody is just going into this blind. There's a huge and a growing number of experts and educated people, professional people that is speaking up. I've bought their books, I've got their videos, I'm on their channels, and they try to warn the world, because when you do a report and you give it to the government, and the government is run by the people that we've been talking about this for, how far will your report go? But it lands in file number 13, because nobody's interested in it, because it's not part of the plan.
Yeah. It's not part of their narrative.
Or their agenda.
True. Yeah. Okay, so, Marta, why is 5G more dangerous than the previous generations of networks we've had? And obviously, the power has got a lot to do with that.
Well, like I said before, we are an addicted generation. We are addicted to having Wi-Fi continuously, non-stop. The telecoms industry is unable to secure health liability to cover for emissions from their cell phone towers, their cell phones, their Wi-Fi routers, any wireless device. So who becomes responsible for the effects? Because the effects that we saw in 4G, 3G, and 2G, do you remember those big phones we had?
Yes.
1997.
Yeah.
I got my first phone. It was like this, and that was still 2G. But there was even at that stage, the insurance industry didn't really insure the telecoms companies against the emissions of these radiation devices. COVID-19 is in fact an electromagnetic radiation disease. They reinvented the seasonal flu that now magically disappeared in the last 2 years. They reinvented the seasonal flu and they called it a virus, but it's just a cover-up for the real pandemic, because the real pandemic is it's an electromagnetic radiation pandemic. It's not a virus pandemic. 5G offers speeds that has only been a dream that could open the door to infinite possibilities for streaming, video, high bandwidth transitions, while 4G speeds up to about 15 megabits per second. Listen to this now. 4G could speed up to about 15 megabits per second. Megabits per second. And that was the best we had up to now, and we were happy with it. We can do a lot with it. But according to OpenSignal, 5G promises to give us 1 gigabyte per second. So 4G is 15 megabits per second. 5G is there at the top of Mount Everest, almost, at 1 gigabit per second.
I just want to ask a simple question of you, Mada. Now, you know,
sure.
when you look at what's happening in Port Elizabeth right now, okay? They're just about to run out of water. And in fact, tomorrow night, I'm going to be talking to one of the councillors at Port Elizabeth about their water situation. But the reason I'm talking about this is because, as you say, with 4G, we as consumers can pretty well do everything we want to do using that level of technology. Now, to go to 5G and to go to 6G, there must be other reasons they're going to that level. And it's not to do with us using our computers in our homes. It's to do with surveillance, and it's to do with other nefarious things that they want to put over us. This is what 5G is all about. It's really the surveillance development. That's really what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, because is 4G really that bad? You know, you can download a movie and you can watch it.
Yeah.
But with 5G, you can download 20 movies in a couple of seconds.
Why?
You know,
you're not going to watch them.
Exactly. Why? Why do you want all that?
As I say, it's like water. I mean, if you don't need that extra water, why supply it?
Yes.
So there's got to be another reason.
You can't see.
There's got to be another reason that they're doing that.
Yeah, and we mustn't stare ourselves blind against the promise of what this is offering us. But remember what's coming in the future. You're going to have smart fridges. Your smart fridge would need 5G to communicate with your shop, to add stuff to your shopping basket. The moment your milk starts going sour, your 5G artificial intelligent smart microchip in your fridge will automatically put new milk onto your shopping list. Your vendor will come and deliver it right to your house. And that's all quite convenient. You can, with your new smart cars that's coming in the future, you open your car without a key. You open your house without a key. You know, all of that is convenience. So we are becoming an enslaved nation. We are enslaved to our desires and our comfort. And that is why 5G will be accepted by most of humanity.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Just absolutely crazy.
But I want to show you another...
yeah, go ahead.
Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I want to see if I can share another picture with you.
Right. Yeah, we can see that.
Let me
can you make it bigger?
Can you see this green picture?
Yeah, can you just do Control+, Control+, that's better. That's better. Okay.
What I wanted to show you here is, you can see here we have 2G, 3G, right. 4G, and 5G. 5G was rolled out only end of 2019, but 2018 they started manufacturing their devices and blah, blah, blah. I want to show you here the bandwidth. 2G was 25 megahertz, 3G 25 megahertz, 4G 100 megahertz. This is now important. 5G is between 30 and 300 gigahertz.
Wow.
So the guy that was talking about how he's working on the towers and, he doesn't have any problems. We are just starting at 30 gigahertz. We have a bandwidth capability up to 300 gigahertz. We are not even scraping the surface yet. So that's why he hasn't, experienced any problems. And here it will be great if people can read what experts are saying about electromagnetic pollution. I like to call it electromagnetic poisoning. I can recommend Mr. Ole Johansson. He wrote a book called Adverse... Yeah?
We've had Ole on our live streams a couple of times.
Oh, you have?
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, no, he's a very, very smart man. In fact, he came on when we were talking...
He's not a conspiracy theorist.
No,
he's an expert.
But he came on when we were talking to the woman who had massive side effects from the radiation sent out by even 4G.
Well,
and now with 5G,
yeah.
And a lot of people suffer from this. There's actually a whole group of people who are interacting who suffer from the same thing.
Mm. Yeah, because besides we're actually going to get to the oxygen problem now, but there's a lot of people talking about the disruptive sleep patterns and skin crawling. Their skin feels like it's crawling, and these are just some of the side effects.
Yeah.
But Ole writes in his book is called Adverse Health Effect of Electromagnetic Pollution, and there's a spectrum of if you just think about the amount of cancer that has increased over the last 50 years, how many people out of 100 did you know 50 years ago that had cancer? And how many people today out of 100 has cancer?
Well, I look at Justin Bieber, that well-known singer who's now got it's some weird name, but his face is frozen on one side.
Contorted, yeah.
They say it's because of shingles. Now, what's happened is that since the vaccine has been rolled out, the number of cases of shingles has exploded around the world. But of course, it's not the vaccine that caused that, is it? But
no, it's monkeypox.
What shingles demonstrates, it's really the canary in the mine, because what shingles demonstrates is that the immune system of people who've been vaccinated has been negatively impacted.
Compromised.
It's been compromised, yeah.
And that's also now with talking about this monkeypox, if you look at the problems on the skin, we don't even have time to go into all that. But there's
a lot of the adverse reactions.
Yeah, and there's a lot of adverse reactions because of the vaccines and the radiation, and they've got a name for it now. They call it monkeypox.
Well, there's another new name. You've heard of SIDS, Sudden Infant Death Syndrome. You've now got a new name that's just come out in the last few weeks. It's called SADS, which is Sudden Adult Death Syndrome.
Yes.
Now, we never had that before.
I want to quickly talk to you about that, because I'm not sure if Dr. Mark Rocha is on tonight. He's a dear friend of mine, and we just had a conversation earlier today, and he told me, and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say which insurance company, but he one of his patients
tell us. Be brave, tell us.
Dr. Mark, if you're listening, I hope I'm allowed to say this, but okay, just somebody he knows at Liberty Insurance Company told him that there is a massive amount of this adult death syndrome where people are dying without any real explanation, and that the insurance company, the policy companies are struggling to keep up with all these people dying left, right and center.
Well, you know that in Europe, there was one person who was identified who died from the COVID vaccine. He had
and he wasn't paid.
He had $1 million life insurance policy, and the insurance company refused to pay it out. and they said he committed suicide because he took an experimental drug, and they won the case. They won the case. Yeah.
And this is exactly what I've been saying, that your telecoms industry cannot get health liability to cover the emissions of their devices and their satellites and their towers. The same with our health policies and stuff. Very soon we're going to see a massive exit of people leaving medical, what do you call it? Medical aids and life policies, because we are not going to be covered for these things.
Yeah.
And I had a long conversation with even my own broker, and she said, no, it will never happen. It is happening, and it has happened to this guy that you mentioned. I've read that whole story as well.
Yeah.
And we can see the proof from the health industry and from the insurance industry themselves. They are struggling to keep up with all the people dying. And if they can prove that you've taken an experimental drug, although your government is freaking forcing you to take the drug, then they just pull up their shoulders. They don't have to pay you.
Yeah.
I also want to prescribe to you Dr. Martin Paul. He's a PhD. He wrote a book called 5G, The Great Risks for Health. I want to recommend to you Blake Levitt. He wrote a book called Electromagnetic Fields. These guys are scientists and experts. They are not conspiracy idiots. We need to understand that oxygen absorption and oxygen molecule aggravation in frequencies of 60 gigahertz is where we have our problem with 5G.
Right.
Remember now, on the screen, you can still see the screen.
Yeah.
4G, we had 100 megahertz. 5G, we have 30 to 300 gigahertz.
Now, just so people understand, that's 30, that's 1,000 times stronger than a megahertz. So gigahertz is 1,000 times stronger. So it's 30,000 times stronger than the 4G signal.
Yes.
30,000.
And to have that, you are talking about your highway where 4G was maybe a provincial road. Let's say 2G was a dirt road, 3G was a farm road, 4G was a provincial road, 5G is a super highway. 6G will be like, and I don't believe we ever went to the moon, but 6G will be like a whole new super speed NASA jet going to the moon. This is where we are looking at your bandwidth and your frequency of these waves. And the problem with your 30 to 300 gigahertz frequency, in the region of that frequency, that is where your oxygen molecule inside your oxygen atom inside your water molecule is starting to have a problem. The current frequency of an average of 60 gigahertz that 5G is operating in is only the beginning of our problem, because like you said in the beginning, your introduction, the microwave. I need to explain the whole thing of how the microwave actually works. COVID is a lung problem, and to explore the fact that COVID symptoms are just flu symptoms on steroids is nothing more than opening your mind to the possibility of what I'm going to say now. We have to ask ourselves about the elephant in the room. And since COVID arrived on the scene, the annual reported death rates for seasonal flu has plummeted as the death rates for COVID has increased. So since COVID arrived, the normal seasonal flu has disappeared. All lung diseases that is now identified in hospitals are apparently, according to them, COVID-related. But besides that little ignored fact, the biggest issue with COVID patients are with the inability to get the necessary oxygen and the problem their lungs have to function normally. And here I'm not saying anything because I'm not a medical expert. My highest level of education is matric, but I loved biology. I'm just going to present you with some facts, and then you can make up your own mind, or your audience can make up their own minds. We all know that when you put your cup of coffee into the microwave, it heats up your coffee quite quickly.
Yeah.
Do you know how it actually works?
Well, it excites the molecules and they get hot.
Yes, wonderful. That's exactly, because the clue is in the name of that device in your kitchen. It's a microwave.
Mm.
The waves of that device is micro, or they are short. So they are shorter in wavelength. That's what's called a microwave. And these microwaves, these waves inside your microwave, hit the polar water molecule in your food. And these molecules begin to vibrate and aggravate, like you said. And they rub against each other and they cause friction. Friction creates heat. Like when you rub your hands together, that's friction.
Yeah.
That creates heat, and that then cooks your food. Now, would you be willing to stick your head into a microwave knowing that the microwaves is going to cause the water molecules in your body to start vibrating and creating friction and heating up? Would you be willing to put your head into that microwave?
No way.
Exactly. But this is why the low frequencies of the previous 4G electromagnetic waves has not been so risky as this new 5th generation frequencies. Listen, all radiation is bad. Since 1870 Spanish flu, when they started with that small frequency radiation, all radiation is bad. But we are now drowning in a shortwave electromagnetic ocean. And this is why 5G is so much more dangerous and toxic and deadly than 4G ever was.
And that's why it's
Did that
actually
answer
a
your
bioweapon.
question? It is a bioweapon. Let me talk about Mr. Bill Gates. We all love him, right? He's the savior of the world.
I call him the Antichrist, but anyway.
Listen, the Antichrist is a massive entity. And the Antichrist has 1,000,001 puppets that all look like him. And we can point the finger to many individuals. And they all carry the kenmerke, the characteristics of the Antichrist. But none of these guys in themselves are the Antichrist. But they are all little
Puppets.
fingerprints, little puppets. So, Mr. Bill Gates, he's a proponent of vaccinations and population control. We know that he spends a lot of money on abortion clinics. His father and mother actually started a lot of these pro-choice clinics. Anyway, he said, because now we're talking about 5G as being a bioweapon, right? A biological weapon against humanity. So he says, eventually we will have some digital certificate to show who has recovered from COVID, who has been tested for COVID, what your vaccination status is, and how much of a risk you are. Now, this digital certificate is why Global ID 2020 has been brought up into life. ID 2020 is all about your global digital certificate. And we've talked about the facial recognition. We've talked about the implanted radio frequency microchip and how 5G and 6G eventually is needed to carry all this information.
Yeah.
Now, to understand why I think, and this is just my opinion, why 5G is a bioweapon, I'm going to read a sentence, and the sentence is loaded.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a step-by-step process that the rulers of the world is busy with. But I'm going to start at the end. The end game in the book of Revelation, in the Bible, is for the Antichrist to rule this world. But for the Antichrist to rule this world, everyone must take his mark, right?
Yeah.
For everyone to take the mark of the beast or the Antichrist, it must be mandatory. For a mark to be mandatory, it must be mandated by a one world government. For a one world government to be in control, they need worldwide obedience. Worldwide obedience is only possible with population enslavement. Population enslavement is only possible via nanotechnology, RF radio frequency microchips, your credit score system, your facial recognition system, a cashless society, no more cash, no more cards, your global currency. And why would we accept all of this? Why would we as humanity accept all of this? Because otherwise the economy is going to collapse. Otherwise I'm going to get sick. I'm scared of the virus. And humanity currently believes the world leaders. And humanity currently believes the media. And that is why we will accept all of this. To implement this whole structure I've just read out to you, we need a super fast, massively broad data highway to process and store all this information, where humans and artificial intelligence is eventually going to be integrated. And this is why 6G is so interesting. This is where Bible prophecy comes in. 6G, coincidentally, maybe I can stop sharing now.
Yeah, go back to your...
How do I get back?
Just go
Yeah,
to
how
the
do I
bottom
get
and
back to
stop
you now?
sharing. So you got that little share screen.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
6G is, if
There
you
you go.
take the 6 and your G and the G and you just turn it around, what do you get? G6,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's
I want to show you how amazing the Bible is now.
okay.
So 6G, you turn it around, you get you get G6.
Right.
G6 is actually about Genesis 6. Do you know what Genesis 6 is about?
Tell us.
Genesis 6 is all about the genetic mixing that happened when the fallen angels were mixing with humanity. That is against the law of the Bible. Any kind of genetic mixing is against the law of the Bible. That's why I will never take the vaccine. Therefore, God flushed the world. Genesis 7 is the flood of Noah, right?
Yeah.
The worldwide flood of Noah. Yeshua, the Messiah, said that the end will be as in the days of Noah. After Noah, what happened after Noah? We had Genesis 6, the genetic mixing.
Mm-hmm.
We had the flood where God cleansed the earth.
Yeah.
What happened after the flood? Do you know? Do you know your Bible? Sorry, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Well, you then basically started again.
Yeah, but the chapter just after Noah. After Noah, the world leader of the time, do you know who that was? Nimrod.
Gosh, yeah, Nimrod.
The
yeah,
world
and
leader of the time.
Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
Yes, he declared himself to be a god, right?
Mm.
He gathered all the world together. If you read Genesis 10, he gathered the whole world. The whole world was in the under the kingdom of Nimrod, of Babylon.
Right.
He gathered all the world together. They had one language. They had one king or one god.
Yeah.
Noah worshipped the God of the Bible, but Nimrod declared himself a god. And he gathered all the world together around the Tower of Babel. And they had one language, one purpose, and one mind. To get the whole world to be of one mind again, like Genesis 6, Genesis 7, and Genesis 10 tells us, that whole process.
Yeah.
You see why the Bible has the answers to everything.
Yeah.
It explains everything. There needs to be a new Tower of Babel. And now I'm going to have to, where are you now? I need to share a screen with you again.
A bit bigger? That's better.
All right.
No, I don't get, yeah. Now that's the UN building, isn't it? Or the World Summit?
Thank you. Thank you very much. To replicate the whole 6G or G6 or Genesis 6 genetic experiment of the Bible, the world leaders have to have a Nimrod again. And they have to gather all the world leaders to give their power over to Nimrod. And they have to gather together around a new Tower of Babel. Now you see the
The
European
similarity.
Unions, you see the United Nations,
Yeah.
you see the World Health Organization, NATO, all these world currency group leaders of our global government systems, all these ruling parties of the world are slowly gathering themselves together. Like you said, this is the incomplete, it looks like an incomplete Tower of Babel because it's built on the principle of the original Tower of Babel.
Which is
This
the
is
one on
the
the right.
European Union. The one on my right is the biblical Tower of Babel, and the
Yeah.
one on the left is the European Union's head office.
Yeah.
So the ruling parties or the elite of this world is slowly but surely gathering their slaves, the slaves of humanity, just like Pharaoh did. The whole first exodus of Israel from out of under Pharaoh. Pharaoh was making slaves of them, cracking his whip at them. They weren't allowed to do anything without his approval. How else would the mark of the beast be forced on everyone? How else will the world wander after the beast, as Revelation says? This is a 12-step process, and we've only now started in this process, but we've already taken giant leaps. 5G alone right now is not deadly yet, but it has a severe influence not only on our lung function or on the oxygen absorption due to the radiation, but also on the residents that live close by these towers. Like you said, the lady talked about how she lives close by a tower and she experiences bad adverse reactions.
Yeah.
People complain about disruptive sleep patterns, sensitive skin, and all kinds of other problems. Now remember, 5G and the coming 6G is shortwave. It's a microwave. It's a shortwave. It doesn't travel long distance. Therefore, every few meters, a connection tower will be installed. In the smart cities that is in our future, in this country and all over the world, 5G receivers and transmitters will be on every lamppost, in every street, and we'll have a constant, never-ending 60 gigahertz and higher electromagnetic radiation the whole day, every day, wherever you go. Combine that with the technology the world leaders are planning to integrate into our bodies, you've got a perfect bioweapon.
Yeah.
For now, we are holding the green passport in our hands on our cell phones to prove vaccination, right? On the smartphones. But the next step that has already been tested and integrated in some European countries like Sweden, and that's the scanning of the microchip in your hand. Biology and technology is going to be mixed, just like Genetics 6, to make the transition into a technocritical world, a technocracy future. To make that smooth, we have to integrate technology and biology. And as been explained by Klaus Schwab, Mr. Schwab himself from the World Economic Forum, soon it will be really easy to transition into the global reset, where all currency and cash will disappear and a new global digital currency will be instituted. Then your personal detail, your vaccination status, your money will all be stored on that little microchip. You will just scan your hand and you'll be free to buy and sell if you go with the system. Because if you don't, then you are like me. I will not be able to buy and sell without the mark of the beast, without the vaccine passport, without the microchip, without the facial recognition, without living inside the smart city. Just as the Bible has prophesied for the last 2,000 years. 5G does not only have a risk to our physical health, it is the greatest tool in the hand of the serpent kingdom, building a new Tower of Babel with one language. And here I need to share another screen.
Well, isn't it
Let me
interesting?
get out of this.
Isn't it interesting that Babel was basically destroyed, and all the different people were scattered all over the world and took up different languages and stuff like that. And that was all basically through God's work to break up the power of
Yes.
Nimrod. Yeah.
And what is happening now? That's why the Bible says in Isaiah 46 verse 10, God says, I declare, I am God. I'm Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Yahweh, Jehovah, Yahuwah. I am Yahuwah. There's nobody else but me. I declare the end out of the beginning.
Yeah.
God says in Isaiah 46 verse 10, I declare revelation out of Genesis. And that's why in my Bible study ministry that I have on YouTube, we dig verse by verse into Genesis. Because I'm telling you, if we don't understand the beginning, we will be deceived in the end.
Yeah. Now, I just want to...
I just quickly want to show you...
I just want to share with you a new term that I launched just a few days ago. And you've heard of herd immunity? Well, here on Loving Life, we have what we call the herd awakening. And of course, the herd
well done.
awakening to what's going on. That's what we're doing.
And if you can know how many times the Bible has that phrase, awake, awake, oh my people. God is calling us awake in these end days, and it's all so prophetic. It's so beautiful. And I'm telling people all the time, because people say, oh, I'm so scared. I'm scared as well. I'm going to lose my business. I won't be able to buy and sell. I can't have a cell phone. I might not ever speak to you again in the future. But this is the most exciting time to be alive, because we've got physical proof that the Bible is true.
Oh,
and if the Bible is true, it means God is alive. And if God is alive, then he's coming back as he promised in the Bible. And I will see his face. And I will have the opportunity, under the grace of the blood of the Lamb, to meet my Creator one day again.
Absolutely. Now, that's the Georgia stone that we're looking at, is it?
That's the Georgian Guidestones, because I'm busy telling you that 5G does not only have a risk to our physical health, but it's the greatest tool in the hand of the serpent kingdom that's busy building the new Tower of Babel with one language, one currency, one leader. Just like Genesis 10. And one religion, just like Genesis 10.
Yeah.
And this is the greatest risk to the health of our souls. I want to read the 10 laws, because we know that the Torah, God's law, has been written on stone. So Satan does everything that God does. He's an idiotic copycat. He cannot do anything on his own. He copies everything God does, and with that, he deceives God's people. So the 10 Commandments on the Georgian Guidestones, I'm just going to read one or two of them. The first one says, maintain humanity under 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. We are 8 billion people now. What is 500 million compared to 8 billion? How many people must die?
Well, at 500 million compared to 8 billion is about,
7.5 billion people.
It's about 7% of the population of the world today.
Yeah, 7.5, the difference between 8 billion and 500 million is 7.5 billion.
Yeah, but as a percentage, it's less, it's way below 10% of the current population.
And there's a lot of, we can talk for hours about how this is not a conspiracy. We can show video after video after video of Mr. Harari, Mr. Klaus Schwab, Mr. Bill Gates, all of them talking about population control. The next law for the New World Order is to guide reproduction wisely. So reproduction, one of the biggest adverse reactions, I believe, of the vaccine is fertility. Our fertility is going to have a huge be impacted by 5G and by the vaccine. So recently, 2 days ago, on a radio station, don't know if I can call the name. Can I say the name?
Yeah, go ahead.
On Radio Jacaranda and Radio Sonder Grense, they actually had an advert that went something like this. 2 years ago, we were all scared that if we got the vaccination, we will be infertile. We were all scared that if we get the vaccination, we will become zombies. Now we know that is all just conspiracy. So they are spending so much money on this mass media indoctrination to tell people don't believe the conspiracy idiots like somebody like me who'd only have matric. I'm not an educated medical expert at all. But look at the second commandment of the New World Order, Georgian Guidestone says, guide reproduction wisely. They will choose who will be able to reproduce and who not.
Yeah. Well, look,
Number 3.
I just want to add to what you said there. You might not have a university degree, but you are an enlightened person. That's the difference.
Thank you for that compliment. Thank you very much. And same to you, my friend. Okay, so commandment number 3, unite humanity with a living new language. Ting, ting, ting. Genesis 10 all over again.
Yeah.
Rule passion, rule faith, and rule tradition. What? They're going to rule my passion, they want to rule my faith, and they want to rule my tradition. That's what they want to do. That's what they are telling us they are busy with. And listen, they are very successful at this stage. The next law, protect people and nations with fair laws and just courts. My backside. Their fair laws and their just courts will be ruled by their own corrupt people.
And it'll be sort of like a mirror of South Africa's justice system at the moment.
Exactly. You know, your people are bought. They are corrupt. They are puppets. They have been sent to their universities by the money of the elites that's telling them now, when I say jump, you ask how high. And you better jump or you are out.
Yeah, yeah.
The next one, let all nations, Genesis 10, rule internally, resolving external disputes in a world court. So the big disputes that cannot be ruled internally will be done by a regional court or a world court. World court. And here I just want to mention the word, and I'm not going to have time to even expand on this, Noahide laws. Not sure if you know what that means.
No, I have no idea.
World court. World court. We'll have to do another session on the world court and the Noahide laws. Yeah. And I told you about the Jews that call themselves Jews, but they're not. Mm-hmm. They're actually from the synagogue of Satan. This is a phrase out of the Bible itself that prophesies that the end world will be ruled by Jews that call themselves Jews, but they're not. They're from the synagogue of Satan. Right. Enough said about that for now.
Yeah.
The next law, avoid petty laws and useless officials. So the useless officials will be the officials that are not puppets, and they will be, getting rid of. Petty laws will be gotten rid of. Petty laws like maybe we must get Mr. Bill Gates and some of these guys to answer to some of the laws they've broken. No, that's petty laws. We are going to scrap that. There'll be a new world court and there'll be a one world religion. The next law, balance personal rights with social duties. Very important. Why is everyone wearing masks? Why is everybody taking the vaccines? The common thing that they say is it's for the greater
good.
It's for the greater good. So your personal rights means nothing. Yeah. You have to do everything we tell you to do for the greater good.
Well, can I just say that's the argument? Hang on. No. Matter, that's the argument that they used here in Australia when they're trying to tell people that they need to get the vax. It's for the greater good. Forget about informed consent. It's for the greater good. So there you go. This is where that comes from. Go ahead.
And listen, we are not sucking this out of our thumbs. It's written here on stone. And, again, no time to go into the conspiracy behind the Georgian Guidestones. But this is pure granite. This is solid granite.
Yeah.
I've got a whole book that explains to you the efforts and the money that went into this. But anyway, So they say you have to learn to balance your personal rights with the rights of the social structure. So where the rights of the social structure is more important than your personal rights, sorry, you're going to lose your personal rights. The next commandment says, prize truth, beauty and love, seeking harmony with the infinite. Who the hell is the infinite?
Yeah.
It's a name of an entity. You need to seek harmony with the infinite, the Antichrist, the beast, and some people can just call him the enlightened one, the illuminated one,
Illuminati.
the one that will exactly. This is all ancient. It's very, very old. This is not a new world order. This is an old world order resurrected on the ashes of the Tower of Babylon of Genesis 10.
Right.
The last one, be not a cancer on the earth. Leave room for nature. And then they repeat it, leave room for nature. And you can now just talk about this whole global warming crisis conspiracy, which we also don't have time for now. But just look at these commandments.
Yeah, the carbon debate. Now,
the whole
Marta,
conspiracy.
We've been going for nearly 2 hours, and I'm going to have to wrap up our live stream very shortly because
sure.
Otherwise it'll just go too long. I've got a one point to make and then a couple of questions to ask you. And the point I'd like to make is that when I was in America in 2018, I went to Pennsylvania, which is very close to New York. And there's a huge Amish community there. And they still live out on the farms. They're very, very spiritual, very Christian. They don't use electricity. They do everything like they used to do it in the 1800s.
Yes.
And these people have got it right. You know, they really have.
Yes.
And on the roads, you actually see the horse and carriage, and you know it's an Amish family, you know, going down the road.
Yes.
And it's quite extraordinary. It's just like a snapshot in time. But getting back
and how healthy are these people?
Very healthy. And
how many of them died of COVID?
No, and the family bonding amongst them, you know, you've got generations of families, and they are close. If you look at our society, there is no family bonding left now. It's just a bunch of individuals all trying to make a buck and all trying to survive. It's completely broken down. Okay, I've got two questions here for you.
I'll try my best.
Yeah. Okay. Now Patricia says, the EMF picks up the graphene oxide in your brain barrier and links you to the cloud or eliminates you. Do you have any comment to make about that?
Not from a medical expertise point of view, but I'll tell you this. Graphene oxide, big problem. I will never allow them to push a PCR test up into my nose, all the way into my blood barrier between my nasal cavity and my brain.
Right.
First of all, there's enough reason for us to believe that in them twisting that stick, they are depositing. They're not actually taking anything from you. They are depositing stuff into your blood-brain barrier. I need to say two things. I mustn't forget now. They can test for COVID just as easily in the mucus inside your nose or in the saliva inside your mouth or in your blood. They don't have to push that thing all the way into your brain. So there's a reason behind them wanting to do that, because of graphene oxide, because of nanotechnology. Now, every time you go for a PCR test, and just if you have to see how some people go for PCR tests regularly. If you don't want to take the vaccine, you must have a PCR test that's no older than 72 hours. Not even talking about how much that costs, how much money they're making. But the more you go for those tests, the more of that stuff is being deposited into your blood-brain barrier.
Right.
If you've taken one vaccine, I'm not saying you are lost if you take a vaccine. But what I'm saying is the more vaccines you take, the more they build up, because they can't put all the graphene oxide they need inside your body. Because remember I told you the whole integration of biology and technology, where 6G will come and they will eventually integrate the technology inside our bodies with the artificial intelligent world out there. And for that, they need 6G. Now, without graphene oxide inside our bodies, there's no magnetic field, there's no metals that can then communicate with each other. So the lady's name, sorry, I forgot. What was the lady's name that asked the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. Jenny, no. Hang on, I've got rid of
You
the
also
question.
forgot. Samantha. Yeah. Anyway, she's 100% correct. So both the PCR test and the vaccine after vaccine after vaccine, booster after booster after booster, that is all, it all has a accumulating effect of them depositing all this. My husband doesn't like me to say shit, but depositing all this stuff into our bodies. Yes, right. She's absolutely correct.
Now, I just want to mention to people that Dr. Philippe, who's well known on this platform, will be joining us in the next few days to talk to us about two things: shedding from the vaccinated to the unvaccinated, and the damage that has been done to the unvaccinated by those who are shedding stuff from the vaccine into them. And the other thing he's going to be talking about is the sudden adult death syndrome phenomenon that's happening in the world today. So just watch out for that. Dr. Philippe will be joining us to talk about those two things. All right, now I've got one final question for you, and this is from Jenny Street, and she says, will planting loads and loads more trees and plants like speckboom have a positive effect or counteract, I guess, G5?
I'm going to be honest and say I haven't done research on that. What I can tell you is that in Britain, where there are quite a lot of these posts, of these lampposts, being installed with the transmitters and the receivers for 5G, the trees that's in between the lampposts are dying. One of the main reasons is the fact that the microwave frequency basically dissolves your oxygen atom from the water molecule, and that causes the trees to suffer. You know, the whole photosynthesis process of the trees. So the trees are plants in general. Nature struggles badly under this wave of 5G radiation and eventually 6G radiation. To plant, I'm not Amish, but we are going towards an Amish society. Many of the people that I know all over the world, we are starting communities like that. And we believe in planting, absolutely. Yeah. But just as the Bible prophesies, 1/3 of all trees on this earth will burn. And I believe 5G and 6G and eventually the next generations has a great impact on that. I think it will be the other way around. Unfortunately, I don't want to be a dooms prophet. But planting more trees will not alleviate the 5G radiation. 5G radiation will have a detrimental impact on trees.
Yeah.
But that's just my humble opinion. Remember, yeah, I'm not a scientist or an expert.
I totally agree. And 5G has impacted bees, birds, and all sorts of things.
Oh,
nobody's
absolutely
talking about that. Now, okay, yeah. I'm going to wrap up the live stream, Marta. Now, is there a message you'd like to give to people just in closing up this live stream? Please go ahead.
Yes, please. If you liked what you heard about the Bible prophecy, if you would like as a listener now to understand the Bible on a level that you have never learned ever before in either your church or Sunday school. And I'm not saying this to be arrogant. I'm saying this because the couple of thousand of people that are doing my Bible studies or the Bible studies that I provide have told me that they've never understood the Bible as they do now. This ministry for the Bible studies is free of charge. There's over 600 hours of intense biblical prophecy, investigation, verse by verse, comparing Old Testament with New Testament, with current world events. If anybody would like to join that, I can give my website address and they can just contact me that way.
What is your website address?
Okay, it's www.twotreesinthegarden.co.za, and that's a number 2. So it's www.twotreesinthegarden.co.za, and we basically start with our investigation at the 2 trees in the Garden of Eden, Genesis 1 verse 1.
Excellent. Well, I've just put that in the side chat, and I'll also drop it in below the video in the description so people can access it that way.
Thank you.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, Marta. It's been very interesting. You know, there really is such a biblical overlay when it comes to events that are taking place today, and there's no question about that. And it's great to have someone who's got a good knowledge of the Bible who can basically pull the threads together and explain to us why this is all prophesied.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity, and it was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, I didn't even realize it's almost 2 hours. It feels like 20 minutes.
Yeah, the time has flown by. All right, take care, Marta, and lovely speaking to you.
Thank you very much, guys. Keep well.
Okay, bye for now.
Bye.
All right, guys, that was Marta van Rensburg, and very interesting insight into the dilemma that the world faces right now. And of course, the useless eaters. That would be you and me. Thanks to the moderators for keeping an eye on the side chat. And don't forget, tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Johannesburg time,